Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary, back on another Monday night. Uh, Indians fans are happy right now. Reds fans are waiting for the end of the game, maybe to come back. So there's my update, my short career as a sportscaster. I wanted to talk about something tonight that we really haven't touched on, except basically touching on, and that is the city's acquisition of the Central Hotel. Um, and we're really at the very end of the end stage of trying to get that fully in city hands. One of the last steps that was finished in the last week or two was an inspection of the building. And really, we heard, oftentimes when you get a building inspection, you have this list of things that are, worrisome. Didn't have a long list of those, but it was observed that the reconstruction of the basement and the shoring up of the base of the foundation of that hotel looks to be in good shape, and there were positive comments about that. So we go from a situation in which the residential hotel was really in pretty severe need of major rehabilitation. There had been a major structural problem. That's when we were introduced. We, as the city, were introduced to the situation, to what was not a dilemma. It was pretty easy to decide to figure out a way to keep that facility up and running and operating. So that's what we've done. For a several year period, we were very much in the silent partner role, and as the agreements began to unwind, meaning that as they came to their end, there was the option of the people who had really basically financed the hotel and been the chief operating entity to hand that off to the city. That took us several months. It was really during the COVID year we were trying to get that effected. A few things happened in the process of that, and one of the most important things is that Law Director Palmer, with efforts out of this office, really worked to make sure that we as the city didn't inherit any long-term debt. It's at one point we really were in a position where we weren't going to take the hotel if it came with a major debt associated. So you have to let the law director give him credit where it's due, and that is that we've got a situation where we're not on the hook as a city for these outstanding debts, and those have been absorbed, is the best way to describe it, by the original entity that put the project together. So really where we're at now is the full ownership of the hotel as a city, and our plan is to continue an operating arrangement with the management company that's been there the last several years. And we as recently as last week, had a meeting with the area manager and with the finance person with Fairfield Homes. And so we'll be working on a new contract with that organization to try to provide continuity in the daily operations. A brief update before I move off of this topic. Although there had been some months where there was less than full occupancy, that's been turned around. All of the apartments have been rented for the time being. They're looking at making an application to the state to perhaps allow some limited number of family units in the multiple. There are a couple 2 and 3 bedroom apartments up there. It's been a little bit difficult when it's really been single family or single individual, has been one of the restrictions. So they're looking at asking the state if they could have some of those multiple bedroom units, a limited number, be rented by families. The same income controls that have been on the people who can reside up there will apply to the family. So without getting into too much detail, it's rented up, things moving ahead, and have a fair degree of confidence that we'll continue to be able to pay the bills and keep the residents comfortable, dry, warm, and over the next year or two address some of the issues that revolve around the old building and wooden windows and needing to get a little bit more energy efficiency in the building. But other than that, it's worth noting that the alternative a few years ago is almost unthinkable, and now that it's up and running and the ownership is really very close to being transferred, it seems more, to me at least, more than ever, it seems like it was the right thing to do. The alternative was to really have to demo the property, and it's really kind of hard to imagine that part of the square totally vacant. So glad that we participated in the reconstruction of the hotel. Inspector says that the building's in good shape, and the operator of the hotel says that they're going to be fully occupied. So it looks like we're moving ahead on a positive note, and really don't even know if there'll be any more legislation that council will have to pass, but we'll keep you posted when actually the final transfer and those two operating agreements are in place. So that's I think that's something we haven't talked about much. I believe it's this Thursday that the auction at the hotel, the other hotel in town, will take place. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that. We, as I've mentioned other times, we have a secured interest. The city will receive payment on any back taxes, any back a service payment agreement, a service payment that are owed to us. That would be for the payment of the utilities. Sometimes you hear people talking about a TIF. It never really became a formal tax increment finance project. It really is, the debt is serviced through a service agreement that was, gosh, this must be Palmer night. It was a deal, it was an arrangement, a contract that was put together largely by the law director. And I think that will serve us well in terms of getting future payments made by a new owner, but it's also going to get us caught up on those back payments. So all that stuff is good. So that's Hotel 1 and Hotel 2. I'm about done in on hotels. I don't think we're going to be, until some other big development happens, we're probably going to be focused on keeping the new Sleep Inn up and running and as occupied as possible. So that's what I have on hotels. Mention one thing that has been discussed kind of at the periphery last couple of weeks, and that is we've been working with EPA. It appears that we are going to have to do a notice in the September billing. Some of this stuff has been out on the internet, so there's no attempt to try to disguise. There is a 1 part per million. The water in testing over a 4-quarter period is 1 part per million above the maximum allowable standard. It's the same thing that came up in 2016. So for the second time since I've been mayor, we're going to have to notice our customers of that. I'm not going to make light of it, but I want to make sure that people realize that the failure to meet the standard is again 1 part per million. So somebody wants to press me on 1 part per million of what, I probably would flunk the test, but it's a relatively low standard, and it had been reduced. I'm going to get into a little detail. It used to be 100, now it's down to 80. We were at 0.081 rather than 0.080. So it is relatively small amount, and the letter that was sent out in 16, one very similar, will go out in the September bill. It will say, among other things, that there's no immediate risk, and some other things that I think are important for the public to know. But what's most important for the public to know is that we're unhappy about the results of those tests, and we're going to be doing several things, some of which have been criticized recently, but we're going to actually have to do more, and that would be the flushing of lines. So this notion of wasting treated water, we're really kind of that's a bit of a problem here, in that the water that's in our distribution system doesn't turn over sufficiently. So we're looking at increased flushing. We're also looking at some items that would pump the water in the towers to make sure that the water doesn't become stagnant. So that's the non-scientific layperson's best explanation. So that's wanted to talk a minute about that tonight, rather than having some sort of gotcha. The city's trying to evade information. It's we'll be, we're upfront and letting you know, and we'll be giving you more complete information in the September bill. So that'll, for utility customers, that'll come all too soon, but that'll be in that first week in September. So those are probably the two big things. Any questions?
Yes, I do have a
Let's
couple
do it.
to start us off. First one tonight came from Cindy. She asked, are there any more thoughts about a mural on the wall beside the gazebo?
Yeah, I'm Cindy, that's a good question. The answer is yes. I've been bugging Matt for the last week or so. We're really waiting on a set of plans from a design architect that in order to use the state funds, we wanted to make sure that we had a certified landscape plan, and that we could take that plan that we've had input on, take that plan and get it sold to the market, and no questions asked. So right at this point, we're waiting on getting that plan back. We'll get it back, take a look at it, and be selling the project later this fall, I guess, unfortunately. To answer your question, yeah, we're absolutely, would be what I would describe as maybe the focal point of the project, is getting a mural commissioned and then actually executed yet this year. So there's a little bit of an issue with that faux wall that people are thinking their mind's eye on the east side of the building, the old the new tattoo place. I don't know the name of it, but it used to be Spectrum. That building, it's really a plastic wall, so we're looking at taking that off, having it tuck pointed, and getting a good surface for the artist to go ahead and do a yet to be agreed upon scene. I think it's smaller than a lot of people. When you think about it, you think there's a lot that could be covered. When you look at it more closely, it might be better off to have one real solid element in it rather than multiple panels. So I'm not particularly artistic, so I'll stop right there. You said you had another question.
Yes, next one tonight came from Mary.
Yeah.
She asked, what are all the blue and yellow flags on Portland Way for?
Oh, those are the utility locates on the widening project that we know will get started this fall. We're not quite sure, haven't talked in detail with the contractor or ODOT about what the plan is for this fall and what will mostly be the big construction project next year, but those are gas lines and water lines. That was a simple one.
Okay. Next question tonight came from Cindy. Is there any update on a grocery store?
No, just I've encouraged, I talked about it a week ago, I've encouraged Bueller's to get a sign up. They asked if they could. I said, yeah, absolutely. So I think they're probably talking with the landlord about how to get a coming soon sign. We also are expecting to work with them to identify the group of local employees that they'll be bringing on for maybe the 5th time. It's an employee-owned company, so it'll be neat to have these people serving you, stocking the shelves, packing the, doing the meat packing and all that's involved in running the bakery and whatnot, cashiering, and all those things. They'll be part owners, and so that'll be it'll be interesting to see that working in a service business here in town. What do we got?
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight came from Travis. He asked, is there any grant money through the city available for Oktoberfest?
You know, I think my best answer for that is there should be money, and I would encourage Travis, I think this is Travis who's the primary organizer, I would contact Experience Galleon. We'll give them a call in the morning. There's really not a phone number, but there are some board members that we can reach out to. And, you know, for a year there were two things. One, not much bed tax collected because COVID had shut down the hotel industry quite a bit. But two, there really wasn't an organization that was supplying grants for local travel and tourism projects. So my first, second, and third suggestion for the Oktoberfest group is to talk with Experience Galleon, and I'll have Matt give them a shout out tomorrow. But I don't know off the top of my head how many tens of thousands they have in their treasury, but I think they could probably, and there's an application process, Travis, that if you call us tomorrow, we can, I think, get you a copy of what you have to fill out for that group to consider funding. Beyond that, the city's absolutely broke. We can't do anything to help you, and good luck. No, we'll do this. We'll have the same arrangement in which we supply the labor, get the electricity and the water set up, and then charge the organization minimally for any overtime that's incurred trying to weather through whatever happens in a 2 or 3 day event like that. So yeah, so go there first and then call us if that's a strikeout, but we can help you with the application and any kind of follow-up.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Next question tonight came from Jerry. He asked, is anything being done to get rid of the concrete barriers, the barrier eyesores between Save-A-Lot and KFC?
Yeah, gee, what? The short answer is certainly not enough. There is a developer interested in purchasing the plaza, and if that happens, I think you'll see a major turnaround in how it's maintained. The ownership of the Save-A-Lot building and how that operates, and the Save-A-Lot grocery is a complicating factor, and I'm not going to wade too deep into that. What I would say is if the area developer continue to make progress, then I think you'll see a pretty significant turnaround. But Jerry, the short answer, no, I think as long as you've got the local leaseor out there, that it's unlikely that you'll see that clean up much. But you know, you're right, it is a terrible eyesore. I think just getting it mowed, you know, on any sort of irregular basis is quite a challenge. And the last thing I'd say about it is what I've said a few times before about the widening, getting a turn lane out there on Portland Way North. I think that will make that even more appealing, and there'll be more of an interest in redeveloping that when the rest of the highway is improved and people can see there's a chance for redevelopment there. So that's I don't want to say we're on top of it, but we know who's trying to acquire it and what they've run into with the existing ownership management. It's really not the ownership of the land, that's some local folks, but there's a contract with the long-term contract with the folks that have the building. So if I haven't totally confused that, I'll stop now. And I'm also really self-conscious about hitting the stable. I think one of our friends, probably really a friend of Galleon, you know, Justin, that talk about Galleon was saying you got to do something about the mayor tapping. And my wife about has a fit, so well, she did have a fit, but I'm not tapping the table, so you know who won.
Okay, next question that
Yeah.
came from Donna, and this goes back to the mural project.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the city ask the tattoo artist in the building next door to help with putting up the mural?
Yeah, it's a neat idea. Donna, that's why you should be mayor. I don't know. It's a good idea. I know that there are some artists that have done some mural work, both indoor and interior and exterior. I think my favorite of her work is the restroom out at Splash Park in East Park. It's pretty cool if you've not driven by. It's sort of a jungle theme. So we've talked a little bit with that artist, but it's a neat idea. There, this day and age, no great surprise, there are 2 tattoo shops, and the guys that are in the motorcycle club, I know either the head of that group or one of the leaders of that group is one of the tattoo artists down the street on Harding Way. So that's a neat idea. Talk to both of those sets of artists and see if they can't contribute with the other person we've talked to. Neat idea. Excuse me. All right. Anything else we got?
No, that is all I have as of right now.
Okay, I'm going to hit one more thing, and it's just if you know me at all, or you watch this, or you've observed how I'm often I'm very much in the habit of having an idea and thinking out loud, if you will. So, in that vein or in that regard, here comes an idea. The Freeze Center and what we're going to do next in the Freeze Center and how that affects Freeze funding and everything. It has a kind of a, I don't say kryptonite because that implies that somehow some association with Superman, but it has a kryptonite kind of feel to it. People just don't want to touch it. In politics, they call it the third rail often. Nobody wants to touch that because they're afraid of the recoil, the shock they'll get from that. So there's been a little bit of stop talking in a political sense. Stop talking about the Freeze Center. All you're going to do is upset people and cause some sorts of alienation. Well, I'm not sure. I think we as a community go forward in a positive way if we don't talk about a subject that has been on people's minds quite a bit over the last years, actually, but certainly the last few months. So most recently, there was quite a bit of discussion about funding the design and then eventually the actual construction costs for the infrastructure out in the general area where the Freeze Center has been proposed for a few years. But there has yet to be the sort of commitment from the city of Galion with regard to Freeze Foundation funds. And so with that, if you will, lack of commitment, I think people are cautious. I think it's as they say, due diligence to have some caution and ask questions, have them answered. But what we're bumping up against is an opportunity to apply for what could be significant, I think, up to $2 million worth of state funding through a program known as Vibrancy. I didn't name it. I'm not even sure what the Vibrancy means, but that's what it's called. And so the connection is the kind of project that would help really transform and move a community forward from an economic development point of view. In order for this project, the Freeze Center, to be considered seriously by the state, I think it only makes sense that they believe that the city is behind the project. So over the next couple of weeks, certainly, I hope to have a full discussion of this at the next Economic and Airport Council Committee meeting. The idea of a resolution, non-binding resolution, maybe it's some critics, cynics would say, it wouldn't be worth the paper it was printed on. But I really think what it will say is that the city of Galion is willing to request of the Freeze Foundation Fund, and I'm talking what's been discussed for months now, a $5 million contribution to this project. it's my belief that if we have that sort of resolution and we do it sooner than later, that that would put Galleon in a position to be taken seriously, to have a very viable vibrancy application with Jobs Ohio. So that's the short of it. The long and the short of it is that I think if we are going to try to secure that additional $2 million worth of state funding, at some point, probably I'm suggesting sooner than later, we need to make clear what the city of Galleon is willing to do with their ability to control the requests, really make things happen with regard to the Freeze Foundation funds. So that's the idea. I don't, certainly people, council members who may be watching this or hear about it soon after we get off the live stream tonight, they have an opportunity to react one way or another. They can react in private. I imagine some of them will give me a call, I hope not tonight, but maybe tomorrow, to discuss exactly the value in doing this. I think one thing it does, if this council says, yeah, we're in favor of making that commitment, it allows us to move ahead with the state funding. It also, raises the issue for candidates of all different points of view over the next 3 months. And so there's something not quite, there's something less than straightforward about approaching this election without all of the candidates running for city office having some sort of simple, discernible yes, no, or maybe on the Freeze Center. So I think this is designed to do a couple of things. One is to ensure our chances with the state funds, and the other is to get some sense of where council is before voters make decisions in November. So wanted to trial balloon it tonight on a Monday. Didn't want to spring it at the end of a council meeting and a mayor's report, but certainly I'm open for feedback either tonight or over the next couple of weeks, but probably the next formal discussion of this idea, if it can grow into a formal discussion, will be at the next economic development meeting next Tuesday night. So, all right, I'll stop there. I don't know if that provoked anything or if there are questions on another topic.
I do have one other question on a different topic.
Oh, okay, good.
This one came from Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
Would any grants pay to paint the building on the southeast corner of the square, the old Murphy's building?
Yeah. I would say that there have been initial conversations with the new owner of that building. He might say he's waiting for us to get back in touch with him, so I want to be careful. I think from City Hall, from the mayor's office's point of view, we're kind of waiting to hear back from them. There's some window repair, there's some painting, there's some tuck pointing. The bricks need some repair work, so there's quite a range of surface reconstruction that needs done there. Unfortunately, that didn't get funded in the downtown revitalization grant of a couple years ago. So in an ongoing effort to try to promote the uptown area, I think some people remember we were able to secure a $400,000 grant through the state. It fell apart a little bit, not to cry over spilled milk or bring up a bad subject, because of the way the program is administered by a third-party consultant, not by the city, but it was through the county commissioners. And so I'm not throwing shade on the commissioners. I am, and was at the time, upset with the former consultant for the county because I didn't think they did a very good job of assisting our businesses, and as a result we only were able to expense out most of the money, but we weren't able to spend all the money. So in any case, that building, the old Murphy's, the Zips building, if you will, the body shop, then now it is Topia, isn't it? Don't they call it?
Yes.
Topia, that's what it's called. Don't forget it. That building and the new owners, I think, really, we're hoping that they'll follow through. And there is, to Cindy's question, there is grant money out there. We know even the name of the grant that we would be focusing in on. And so yeah, I think when they're ready, we're ready, and I think it's the kind of project that in this one downtown revitalization grant program, they fit it. They fit the criteria pretty on point. So, all right, what else we got?
Okay, jumping back to the Freeze Center.
Right.
Have a question from David.
Mhm.
He asked, who is backing the Freeze Center? Banks, local businesses? How much are the people of Galleon going to have to pay for it? And what is the return on investment for the project?
Well, it's a huge question. I think it's like David was waiting to ask it for a while. I would say let's kind of walk through those from the beginning. Who is backing it? It is, from a financial point of view, it has been supported by the Crawford Foundation, by the Timken Corporation, or their foundation. Let's see, the state of Ohio twice has put money into the project. The State Department of Development, separate from the state capital bill. That was the original money that was received. Then there's been a couple of roadway projects. So they answer that part of it. The initial funding, the secured funding, has come from two foundations and 2 or 3, depending on how you count the grants from the state. I think the local financial participation, I think there hasn't been any offered, but to be honest, I don't think there's been a formal request of bank A, B, or C in the local community. Will you buy this much debt? Will you contribute this much? Part of what I was trying to express, David, is until the city, I've come to the opinion, until the city commits the Freeze Foundation dollars, that we've really hit a little bit of a roadblock in raising the rest of the money. Nothing that I've looked at. I think another part of it is, will the taxpayers be on the hook? Now, that's really been something that we've worked, I guess, from the start to make sure that there is no city income tax, city revenues that are pledged to pay any sort of debt or actually service any debt. What is city-controlled funds are the Freeze Foundation funds. I thought a little bit about doing the ABCs of the Freeze Foundation, where the money came from, how it is that the city and the schools divided up, and then kind of an idea of what we've done with the Freeze dollars since, I guess it was 15 or 16 that we first received those dollars. Maybe we'll do that at another night, but the commitment of city-controlled money in any formula that I'd be in favor of supporting would be from the Freeze Foundation. And so, I think that there's limited support for pledging tax dollars of the city to build the facility. So that's part of the reason why it's taken a long time to put this puzzle together, because if you do it without having tax dollars in there, it's certainly a little more complicated, and causes you to rely on other foundations and other state resources to get the necessary money put together to capitalize and build the building. So, did I hit all those? Seems like I hit most of those questions. Maybe
Just
I
anything
skipped
else
one.
you wanted to add on the last question,
What was
which
that?
was what is the return on investment for the project?
Well, it depends on how you look at the return on investment. If the way I've always looked at the project is an addition to sporting facilities for high school and middle-aged school kids, and also additional opportunities, facilities for youth sports. So for me, that's been the primary start. So, I mean, how you measure return on investment, I don't know. It's more like how you would measure that when you look at the YMCA, or you look at the return on the investment of having interscholastic sports to begin with. So I don't think we want to try to unpack that one, but The return on investment in youth sports is kind of hard to put your finger on. But I'm not going to apologize for a lot of the use of the freeze fund. I mean, what's the return on the investment of the new football field lights? I don't know. It's going to be pretty cool. So everybody should get down there this fall when they turn them on. What's the return on the investment with the new tennis courts? I don't know. I drove through the park the other day, David, and there must have been 70 people there. All 6 of the tennis courts. I didn't know high school girls tennis players had that many friends and relatives. They should have charged admission. So, you know, I don't know what the return on investment was, but there were a bunch of high school girls from 2 different schools and a lot of parents that were engaged in what seemed like good, wholesome fun. So, you know, I think without dodging the question return on the investment, I want to focus on how this freeze project, a big one, is like the other freeze projects, that the return on investment has to do with what Mr. Freeze wanted, and those were better recreational opportunities and scholarships for Galion people. So in that sense, I think the return on investment's pretty, it'll put a smile on your face. What's the return on the investment? I don't mean to beat up on this one topic, but what's the return on the investment at the splash park? Heck, I was out there, I had a chance to go out there with some grandkids over the weekend. I don't know, man, there must be 40, 50 people there. Nobody paid a penny. We all kind of paid for it. So I'm really not, if you want to reduce the Freeze Center to a sports complex, a travel sports complex, and demand a rigorous return on investment, that's really misrepresents what has been envisioned from the start. It really misses the part of improved sports and recreational opportunities from little kids all the way up through college-age kids, and heck, even older people will use the Freeze Center. I know when it gets built, people will be amazed. And in that sense, the return on investment won't be, it's not meant to be a profit-making thing. If it covers the cost of its debt and provides additional opportunities for youngsters of all ages, then it passes a different kind of return on investment. But there are other people, including the person asked the question, that could make an argument where they absolutely disagree, and you know, everything has to have a return on investment. I'm not sure that's always the case, but I'm open for a debate on it. That's why I brought the topic up, because it needs to be discussed and consensus arrived at, and the community then proceed from there. So, anything else on that one?
Yeah, a couple more related to the Freeze Center.
Okay.
Next one.
I hope with David, I didn't mean to shout you down. In no way did I mean to shout you down, but I tried to hit on those topics, and I feel most passionate about this issue of somehow it has to be justified as a return on investment. It's, you know, you don't expect Little League to get a return on investment. I'm not getting it. Next. Sorry.
Yep, next one came from Mark. He said the city has committed by giving land to the Port Authority for the Freeze Center. How much more commitment do people need?
Well, if you want, I don't know. If you want the project built, you're going to have to give more. That's what I would say. I don't know what the exact amount is. If given the land was sufficient to get the building built, that would be all that we need. But it looks like those people, if you want to see it happen, there's going to have to be additional commitment. And I think the other part of it is the land is just a small portion of what's needed to put the project together. The city was given the land in exchange for the roadway dollars to add the roadway, and so it's, I don't know. But if it's sort of a rhetorical question, I would say how much I'm not sure yet, but we're going to need more, and I wouldn't want to minimize that. I've also heard that same ground that was given, lampooned and mocked as a swamp out there. So I don't know quite how beyond that to respond. But if people in the community want to see the project built, we're going to have to put more in than just the donation, just swapping to the Port Authority the donation of the land. I mean, the Port Authority only has the financial resources. It's like 2 years old, maybe a little over 2 years old. They don't have the financial resources. So when you talk about the Port Authority being given certain things or vice versa, I think it's important to remember the port's just really in the early years of its inception, and they don't have a large war chest to be able to build projects like this on their own. But they still can provide the sales tax exemption. They can still provide, some other incentives that can't be done otherwise that will save the project. The other incentive largely is prevailing wage. And so, there's some reasons that the port's there to help make this happen beyond just funding the rest of the project. So, what else you got?
Back to the funding for the project.
Yeah.
Shirley asked, we keep hearing different people have committed money, but where is it?
Well, I would say that the money, for instance, we'll break that down a little bit. The money from the foundation has initially flowed into the partnership. That's who the initial commitment was made to by the community foundation, and then that transitioned, those dollars were transferred over to the port. If you got into the various accounts of the Port Authority, you would see that money in there. The Timken Foundation, I'm not 100% sure, but they had agreed to pay in certain increments, and they're, I don't know, halfway or 2/3 of the way through, and the same applies to that foundation contribution. It was initially to the partnership. It's now been transferred to the Port Authority, and so that's where those contributions are. The state funding that I've talked about, the state capital bill funding, has been used to do some of the project development, and that's, again, you can see that, Shirley, in the Port Authority accounts. So that's where that money is. Some has been received, and some of that's been received has been spent. Most of it has been coming in from those two foundations, and has been, waiting for the rest of the money to be pledged, and so the project can proceed. So I think that's really where the money is.
Okay.
And if it was enough, I wouldn't be talking about it. We need to raise more money if we want to build the project.
All right, and then just a comment from Jeff. He said it's awesome seeing a mayor lobby for better recreational facilities.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. I feel like I'm being lured into saying thank you, so I'll say thank you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to be quick about it. Quality of life. Everyone talks about it, but most everyone I know defines it a little bit differently. For me, quality of life, one of the things you can put your hands around are the kinds of recreational, if you will, entertainment facilities that you can find in one small town versus another. And so that's always been the philosophy since I've been mayor, is to use those freeze dollars to build projects that make living here a little bit more fun, a little cooler. People, I think there's a lot to be said for people enjoying their childhood, and having things to do in your hometowns probably a good way to do that. So we've got we've put together those things, and they're as much playgrounds as they are recreation. But I think, without going on too long, there's been a lot of stuff. We'll be talking more about this over the next couple of months, but the amount of money that has gone from the Freeze Foundation to enhance projects that are more or less high school facilities is pretty remarkable. So if you could do this, if you could, wipe away the new press box, the new lights, all the improvements to the baseball field, the tennis courts, any number of things that have been done with freeze dollars to help the schools, I think that's another thing. So, and Jeff's saying, it's nice to see the mayor is into that. I think we've kept that in balance, and one of the really cool partnerships is what we've been able to do on these school facilities inside of our park facilities. It's something that all the kids and all the young teenagers will remember as being a pretty cool part of their high school. So, anyways, I don't know. Thanks, I guess would have been sufficient, wouldn't it? Rather than going on. But anyways, that's what I got. What else we have tonight?
I just had one thing from Travis when I met
Yeah,
to Oktoberfest. He just wanted to plug for a fundraising campaign that they just launched for the event. So I asked him to share the website or however people get to that in the comments.
Hey, that's a good thing. I don't know what else to say other than he needs some help, and that small group of the people who are the galleon graders just finished up a season, and what we realized, because we were out of business for a year, is how hard it is to get started again. So you gotta, if you know Travis, give him the high five, give him a 5, maybe maybe a little more than 5, and get that going, because the financial oomph that it takes to get going after that year of dormancy. And I'm really, anybody who's been in business and tried to stay in business and get resurrecting, get going, they all know that as well. So yeah, I think push it out however you can. Go knock on the chamber's door. Maybe they can help give you some ideas on fundraising and those kinds of things. So anyway, that's what we got. Anything else tonight, Matt?
Nope, nothing else.
All right, we will be back next week. City Council tomorrow. I know we'll be down one person, so we may be just holding a new ordinances to a first reading. But I wanted to push out tonight this idea of getting a resolution of support from city government. So those people, back to David's initial question, who's supporting this? We can add to that list that the city of Gallion's supporting it, and when all the funds are put together, the city will ask the Freeze Foundation for a significant portion of the overall price of that building. So, all right, stirring up a little controversy on a Monday. Talk to folks tomorrow and throughout the week. I think there's some committee meetings, so if you stay in touch with city government through this, we'll see you later this week. If not, I'll see you next Monday. Good night.